Okay, so in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to talk about how you can take minor chords and you can stack them on top of major chords to get a completely different sound. And when I realized this, it totally changed the way that I play guitar. This is one of the biggest breakthroughs I had. Because it's really pretty easy. It's not difficult to do. It's just something that I couldn't get my head around. And so I want to show you how this works in this video. And you're going to walk away with the understanding of how to do this. You can apply this to blues. You can apply this to western swing and country. It's a real sophisticated sound that you can introduce to your playing, and it's not difficult. You're just taking minor chords or minor triads and you're playing them on top of major chords. You just need to know how it works. And that's what we're going to do. So the song that I played had sort of two parts. In this video, we're going to go through the first half of that, and I'll also give you all the theory information behind it all. So we're going to go through all of that in this part 1 video. In the part 2 video, we'll go through the second half of the intro song. If you'd like to get that second half, get the tablature for both halves and the MP3 jam track so that you can practice playing everything we're going to talk through. You can get all of those extra materials by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP587. Okay, so I'm going to start off and we're going to talk through a little bit of theory here. Now, I know that some of you are not into that. Some people say that I talk too much, and I don't know how to do this without talking, so I'm going to have to talk on this first part. So if you want to skip this theory part and you just want to learn the song, that's all you're here for, you can do that by going to the time on the screen right now. But why would you want to do that? This is the cool stuff, I'm telling you. So, the first thing I want to do is I want to talk through minor chord shapes. There's really 3 shapes. There's 3 main positions. That's just how I think of it anyway. There's others, but these are the 3 main ones. Once you get these, and they cover the entire fretboard. Once you get these, you can play minor chords pretty much anywhere. So we're gonna start with a D minor, and we're gonna start down here in first position. And this will be like probably one of the first chords you learned. I remember that probably the very first chord I learned was a D chord. And I learned it down here like this. Now, one thing to point out when I play this chord is where my ring finger is, sort of the tip of that triangle, this note, that's my D note. So that's the D chord. And I'm only saying that so that that can help you identify that chord. So if you see this shape somewhere else, if you see it up here, that's an E note, therefore that's an E triad. Anyway, D chord, but if we play our D minor, we just take that third interval and we flat it. We go down 1 fret. Now we play the other 2 fingers where they were. Now I'm playing a D minor, right? So that's probably how you learned a D minor, with this D in the bass. What we're going to do is we're going to play that same D minor, but we're going to rearrange our fingers. So I'm going to put my index finger where it was, 1st fret, 1st string. Now I'm going to put my pinky on the 3rd fret, 2nd string, my middle finger on the 2nd fret, 3rd string, and my ring finger on the 3rd fret, 4th string. So we have this sound. So it's still a D minor chord, but now we don't have the D in the bass. We have this F in the bass, which is the same note as our 1st fret, 1st string. Okay, so since we changed our fingering here, one thing to point out is where my pinky is now. That's my D note. So that's the chord. That's chord shape number 1. We'll just call that our D minor shape for now. Okay, let's go to our next D minor up the fretboard. This is the next prominent one, I should say. So I'm going to play it up here, and this is using the A minor shape. So here's our A shape from Cage, right? A major. Here's the A minor shape. And so if I play it up here, I'm playing a D minor. There's my D note as a reference, and I have one up here as well. Now, instead of playing this full chord with a bar, I just want to play the top 3 strings of it. And it looks like that. And I call this the stair-step shape. I refer to this all the time. It looks like a little stair-step to me. So 5th fret, 1st string, 6th fret, 2nd string, 7th fret, 3rd string. Right? So we have our D minor chord down here using that D minor shape. We have one here using the stair-step shape. The next one is where I'm going to come all the way up to the 10th fret and I'm going to bar. I'm going to call this the bar shape. So I'm putting my index finger on the 10th fret, barring the first 3 strings. You can do this. This is not intensive bar chord. So we've got that. And then we're going to add one more note, the 12th fret, 4th string. That way we're not playing a full bar. We're just playing this piece of it. That's all we need. So we have D minor shape, stair-step shape, and then our bar shape. Those are 3 ways to play a D minor chord. Okay, so now those are the 3 shapes that are going to give us everything. Everything I played in the intro came from moving those shapes around. So that should be a sigh of relief. Okay, we don't have more shapes to learn. That's it. So now we just need to know how to put the shapes with the chords to get these different sounds. So let's go back to this first D minor shape. Now if I took that shape and I slid it all the way up here, so that my keeping my fingers exactly where they were, but now my index finger is on the 5th fret 1st string. So take this chord and play it up here. The question I have for you, which is the $1,000,000 question, and this is the part that totally tripped me up, but what is this chord? If I were to ask you that, what is that chord? What am I playing here? Well, the real answer is it depends, and you're going to totally understand why in just about 2 minutes. But the easy answer, the obvious thing would be, well, you said when you're played down here where your pinky was that D note, and that was the D minor chord. So using that logic, where my pinky is, whatever that note is, must be the name of this chord. That's an F sharp note, so that must be an F sharp minor chord, and that's correct. That is an F sharp minor chord. You can hear it against an F sharp minor. Here's an F sharp minor in a different position. Yep, matches. That's an F sharp minor chord. Done. So now we know what that chord is. But this is where the magic part of this thing happens, because depending on what chord I play underneath this, I'm going to get a completely different sound. Let me just demonstrate. I have a looper pedal here, which I never use, but I just wanted you to hear what this sounds like against an A chord. Okay, so now I have an A major chord that's looping. It's kind of sloppy, I know, but anyway, I want to demonstrate what happens if I play this F sharp minor chord on top of this A major chord. Now listen to what we have. What? That like blows my mind. It's like magic. How did that chord that sounded sad, it sounded like a minor chord before, now it sounds happy. When I play that on top of the A major chord. I can also use the other voicings. Here's the stair-step shape. Right? Sounds like Western swing. If I come up here, there's the barre shape. So the barre shape, the stair-step shape, my D minor shape. You see what I'm talking about? How the chord underneath it completely colors it in a different way? Okay, so now I'm looping an F sharp minor chord, and I'm gonna play that same chord. Now it sounds sad. It's transformed by the chord underneath it. Listen, even the different voicings. Okay, so now I'm playing a B major chord, and I'm gonna play that same F sharp minor chord on top of this, and listen to what sound I get now. Now it sounds kind of bluesy. This just blows my mind. It's like magic. Okay, so far we've heard 3 different sounds. They're very different. One was a minor chord sound, one was like a kind of a jazzy Western swing sound, and then one of them was kind of a bluesy. I can't play the B and that minor chord at the same time. But what we've essentially done is created 3 different chord extensions. So when I played that first chord like this, and I said, what chord am I playing? If there's a band or any other instruments around, like a bass player that's playing an F sharp, and I play this, I'm definitely playing an F sharp minor chord. Or if there's somebody in a band or a piano playing an F sharp minor chord and I play this, I'm playing an F sharp minor. If there's a band playing an A chord and I play this, I'm playing an A6. So this is an A6. And if there's a band playing a B chord and I play this, I'm playing a B9. So how do I sort this? Well, here's how I think of it. I can make this pretty easy. The F sharp minor one, that's pretty easy, right? There's just 3, these are just different voicings for playing an F sharp minor chord. 3 different minor voicings. Probably have that one. This A thing, how do you make that make sense? Well, here's how I sort it. So when I'm playing an A chord using the E shape, I'm barring here on the 5th fret. And when I'm playing this chord, I've got my index finger on the 5th fret. So I just have like a little mental anchor to know that if I want an A6 sound, it doesn't matter what you label these things. You can call it an A whatever. You can call it the numbers and letters don't really matter. But if I want this sound, like you would hear in Western swing or hear in the blues, in a certain type of jump blues. If I want that sound, that's how I get it. There's my major chord using the E shape. I know how to put that minor triad into that area and get that sound. So if I wanted to play a G chord and I wanted a G6, that's a 6 sound. That's a 6 chord. If I want that 6 chord sound, there it is, right? Off of my E major shape. Now you can do it off all 5 positions of the cage system, but I'm just showing it to you in one for now, just so you can get the sound. You can work out the notes and work it out in different voicings yourself. Right now, you just need to hear the sound and understand what's going on. So that's an A6 chord. Now I know that some of you are going to obsess over the Y part, like why is this an A6? Why does that F sharp minor chord work on top of an A major chord to create an A6? It just does. You could get into the notes, you could dissect it down under the microscope and figure out exactly, but does it really matter? I mean, just being honest with you, if you want this sound and you're improvising and you want to pull out that sound, nobody cares the why. I mean, if it helps you sort it somehow, then kind of look in under the hood. But the way that I see it is it's just something I can pull out of this chord shape. Right? And that sound is there. Now the cool thing was, remember we looked at 3 shapes. So that's the 6th sound. We looked at the minor chord sound. We could hear that sound. The other one was the 9 sound. Now I used B as an example. So if I'm playing this with a B, I'm now playing a B9. But here's how you can connect it all back. So to me, the 6 chord and the 9 chord are kind of connected. And here's what I mean by that. If I'm playing that A6 chord, all I have to do to play an A9 chord is take that 6 chord and slide it down 2 frets. That's my A9. It's that same shape though. It's that same shape. I haven't changed the shape from the very beginning of this. A6, A9. And you can see how it all relates to your chord shapes. So if I'm in here playing a blues and I want an A6 sound, and if I want to slide down to the A9 to make it bluesy, the reason it sounds bluesy as the A9 for the A9 is because of the flat 7. The flat 7 is in there. Now what's cool about that is I can do that same thing for the other 2 voicings. Right, so we had that D shape, we had our stair-step shape, which would be up here, right? If we were playing that for A. And you can connect this to like your C chord shape. This is my A chord using the C shape. This is sort of the top part of that C shape, kind of. So that's how I think of it. It's up here in the C shape area, C shape neighborhood. So that is now an A6 chord. And if I go down 2 frets with that, I'm playing an A9. And this is connected down to my E shape. So now I've got my A chord, there's my A9, back to my A, and here's my A6, down to the A9. I'm starting to vamp a little bit and improvise using this minor chord thing over a major chord. It's so cool. Same thing can be done up here. It's actually easier. Let's come down an octave and play down here. So this would be my A6, and then go down 2 frets, which would be open. That's my A9, or like this. So you got another octave of it. Now, if you start mixing in the minor pentatonic, right? It starts to sound like the blues, and we're just taking minor triads and mixing them in with our major chord there. All right, so now let's take this concept even further and apply it to that jam track so that we can hear some of this stuff in real time. So the first time through the jam track, we played it kind of bluesy. I did the 6 chord to the 9 chord. The second time through the jam track, I played major 7 sound, which is a dreamy sound. I'm going to save that for part 2. And it's also using these same minor triads. It's just another position for it. So we're going to cover the major 7 sound in the part 2. So let's listen to the first part of this jam track, and then we'll break down what's going on. All right, so we started off with the 6 chord and the 9 chord. So we're playing in the key of A, and this comes in on the 3. So it's 1, 2, 3, right? And then after that, I played a little bluesy lick that goes. And you can think of this as being in minor pentatonic scale pattern 1, right? As sort of your root. Although there are some other notes thrown in there. There's some notes from Mixolydian scale. So that note right there. So it starts off with a bar on the 5th fret, strings 2 and 1. So it slide into the 2nd string, 1st string. We do that 7th fret 1st string. Now that would be a note from my major scale or Mixolydian, which is in this case. Don't worry about that if you don't know what that is. We're gonna slide up into the minor pentatonic, so that 8th fret 1st string. And then walk it back down, 8, 7, 5. So 7th fret 2nd string. Another note that's not in your minor pentatonic scale, but is in your Mixolydian scale. And then watch this. So this is 5th fret 2nd string, 7th fret 3rd string, back to the 5th fret 2nd string, and then we're gonna go 5th fret 3rd string with a hammer on to the 6th fret 3rd string. And then watch this. So after this, I'm gonna put my ring finger on the 7th fret 4th string and play that note, and then I'm hitting the 5th fret 1st string. Notice my hand is, I'm playing the chord. I'm just already making the chord there. So it's, and then pinky goes down on the 7th fret 2nd string, and the chord that I'm playing there is that 6th chord. So I basically just built the chord into the lead. So you can hear that note right there. That's what gives it the 6th sound, the sound of a 6th chord. And that's the 6th interval of your major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's where that number comes from. Then the song goes to the D chord, which is our 4 chord, and I play this. Wait, that sounds like a minor chord. Oh yeah, it is a minor chord, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm playing an A minor. I'll explain this in a minute. So we're barring the first 3 strings on the 5th fret, and then ring finger on the 7th fret 4th string, and we'll just play the chord. And then just to round out that idea, I went like this. Little embellishment. I kept that bar there. I put my pinky down on the 7th fret 1st string. And I'm plucking. I'm using ring finger and middle finger on strings 1 and 2. You could pick that either way. But that's the embellishment off this. Now, why is that working? Why is this A minor chord working over a D major chord? If you listen to the jam track, it's pure D major. This is how I strummed it. But I'm playing this on top of it. So if you think about where we're at, we're playing our D chord using the A shape, right? And I've talked about this before, but when I make that A shape, look at this. I've got 1 finger on the 5th fret, 1 finger on the 7th fret. Now that's a D chord, but I'm using that A shape. So 5th fret, 7th fret. So just remember those numbers, because if we look at strings 1, 2, and 3 on the 7th fret with the D in the bass, that's a D6. If we look at the 5th fret with a D in the bass, that's a D9. D6, D9. That's my minor chord, minor chord. Oh, there's that A minor. So that's actually going to work over my D. So we could come up to the E shape to really see this, you know, just like we did for the A shape. So here's my D chord using the E shape. I'm going to put my index finger there, and I'm going to play that first shape we learned, that first minor shape. Okay, there's my D6 chord. I can slide that down and get my D9. Wait a minute, what is that? Oh, that's an A minor. Do you see what I mean? So like the way you have to do this is to connect it to chord shapes. That's how it works for me anyway. So I know off of my E shape, I've got my 6 chord and my 9 chord. Off of my A shape, I've got my 6 chord and my 9 chord. See how that works? You just have to find your 6 and your 9 chord off of each shape. So now you've got it off the E shape and the A shape. So then the song goes back to the A chord, and I came up here and went. I'm just playing that F sharp minor triad, the stair-step shape that we already talked about. 9th fret 1st string, 10th fret 2nd string, 11th fret 3rd string. And I slide it down. That's a nice thing about these 6 chords and 9 chords. You can slide them around like this. Then the song goes to the 5 chord, which is our E chord. So I'm thinking about my E chord here using the A shape, and I went. Now this should make sense because we're playing the E chord using the A shape. Oh yeah, that's fret 7 and 9. So there's the 9th fret, there's the 7th fret, there's my 6 chord, my 9 chord, E, right? Now I walked it down chromatically, you can do that, right? But it's the same principle. And then the song goes back to the 1 chord, which is our A, and I play that A6 right here using that F sharp minor. And then watch this. This is a little embellishment. It goes. So this was an idea that I heard Robin Ford talk about at one point, that you can take this shape and you can almost play it like a lead by the notes from your 1st string. But you use the whole chord. You know, so that's another little idea. So it's just taking that same, that first shape we looked at. And it came up here where my index finger's on the 8th fret, slid up to the 10th fret, back to the 8th fret, and then back to that 5th fret. All right, so in the part 2 video, we're going to talk about a totally different sound that you can get out of this same jam track. Same chord, same jam track, but this time, instead of it sounding kind of bluesy, we're going to go into the major 7 sound, which is much more dreamy. And it gives you a whole different vibe. So we're going to talk about how that works. It's still using the same triads. It's still those same minor triads. This is what's magical about this to me. You can take these triads and you can get pull all these different sounds out of your chords by, you know, wherever you place them and understanding that. So come join us in part 2 where we'll go over the rest of that. And remember, you'd have access to the tablature for both parts and the MP3 jam track so that you can take all of this, you know, information and practice playing it. All right, we'll see you in part 2. Oh, and if you have a question about anything, leave your question or even a comment. Anything resonated with you, I always appreciate that. I read through everything and I try and respond to any of those that I can. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you do that as well. All right, we'll see you in part 2.